we have to create the right vibe, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at Purely Arsenal FP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts.
Welcome to another edition of a Purely Arsenal sit-down podcast. It's been a massive week in the Champions League final, and we got the 2 wins we predicted. Not quite the results that we predicted, but we got the 2 wins that we predicted. I'm joined by Neil Shah. How you doing, Neil?
I'm fine. I'm elated, a little bit, how can you say, rattled, but we got the result in the end. So I'm elated, Jack. Let's talk about it, my man. Oh,
man, there is so much to talk about. I mean, maybe at some point we'll talk about the fact we're in our second Champions League final for the first time in 20 years, second time in 140 odd years. But before that, we've got the small matter of the Premier League title race to discuss. Look, Neil, I think City obviously won very comfortably yesterday with some shocking decisions that went their way before they won comfortably, by the way, that people seem to have forgotten about after this VAR decision, which I actually think we'll get to is probably the biggest support of VAR in its history, given the fact that it was completely the right call. But we're going to get to all of that. First of all, I mean, we knew this was going to be a tough game. I think if you're a City fan, you looked at this and thought, yeah, this is their banana skin. West Ham fighting for their lives, have to win it. Right, literally have to win it, especially after Spurs' win last week. They've got a couple of tough fixtures, I think, towards the end of the season. Maybe Newcastle away's their next one, something like that. It was a game their fans and their manager looked at it, they have to win it at home, etc., etc. And for us, it absolute must win as well, because City obviously dropped points against Everton, but then went and won against Brentford, which we expected them to do, but obviously did their goal difference a big favour. Went with the same lineup again, Neil, which was probably expected after midweek, but probably could have been fair for Arsenal fans to look at that and gone, does this team's legs have another sort of 90 minutes in it, if you like? Obviously, knowing changes would come. But I think in terms of performance, you can completely understand why he went with their lineup. So that the lineup was not the question mark. We'll get to the first sub, and then we'll start to talk about it, because there is sort of 4 big talking points in this game. There is the subs, obviously, the sort of the way he adjusted the subs, the goal, and then obviously the big VAR decision, and with some other stuff and goalkeeper saves in there. But Neil, I thought we started the game really well. They were obviously up for it. You could tell they were, but we dominated the play, and we probably should have scored a couple in that first 15. If I remember it rightly, because it's so far back now, a lot of it was from set pieces in that first 15. Is that right, Neil?
Yeah, no. For me, the one that I recall first, which was due to one player, I have to say, unfortunately, I didn't see Saka again. I thought he went missing for pretty much the whole game, which is a shame, because we were speaking about how he looks like he's come back to his best again, and then when we really needed him, we desperately needed him, including in yesterday's game too. He just wasn't there, unfortunately, on that right-hand side. So that's a shame. And I think Ben White's injury probably didn't help matters on that right-hand side either. But we'll come on to that in a minute. But for me, it was Trossard, who I think has been the most improved player over the last few games. Absolutely fantastic. And yeah, he may have been overshadowed by Saka and Gyökeres and all of that going on, but he has been there and thereabouts and causing a lot of mayhem on that left-hand side. And it was him who actually passed a very nice ball through to Calafiore, if you remember. And he should have just let loose a little quicker, and he didn't. And that allowed, I think, a player which I always liked when he was at Arsenal, and he's doing tremendously well for West Ham. I can never say his name. I call him Mavo. Yeah, I thought yesterday he was outstanding, and he has been for them of late. I think he's a quality player, and I didn't like it when we got rid of him, but it is what it is. He's doing well for them now, but he got in the way of Calafiore, which obviously
should have squared it, Neil.
Yeah, he could have even squared it, because I think Gyökeres was there, and that led to that corner, which then led to Trossard again getting involved in two headers, One, I think, was saved. The other was hit the bar. And then I even think there was a third attempt by Gyökeres before Eze tried. So it was all happening. And I think in the first 10 minutes, we had 9 shots on target or something stupid. So it was set piece, but there was a little bit of open play. But I felt like we controlled the game completely. And I was really relaxed. I thought, we're trying to do what we did to Fulham, which is exactly what we needed. Yeah. I thought, we get an early goal. It opens it up for us then because they know they've got to chase the game. So I thought, this is brilliant. And then unfortunately it wasn't meant to be. But the first few minutes, first 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I thought we were playing tremendously. But I have to give my applause to Trossard. I thought he was exceptional.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, I completely forgot that was the first incident, was the Trossard ball through to Calafiori. Yeah, he just delays and staggers on it a little bit too long. Calafiori, he was at the centre of a lot of our early chances, though. That, I want to say maybe that first corner he was involved with a little bit. He got up, but it went over his head and Trossard sort of headed it in. It was actually a really good save from the keeper. There was another free kick, wasn't there?
Right.
A little later, yeah, where he sort of back flicks header it, and you looks like Saliba's going to score, and he almost hesitated.
Again.
Yeah, and we're going to get to that because I was really frustrated in the way we sort of handled the last sort of post-goal moment. And I think a large proportion of that, I don't think we've understood how good Mavropanos is in the boxes. He's so good from set pieces. He's so good defensively, and he scored against City, didn't he? But he's so, if you remember, I think last season when they beat us at the Emirates, or a season before, he scored an unbelievable header at the Emirates. He's just a really good player for aerially. He's got such a good header. Even last week, he scored an offside header against Brentford. But if you go back and watch the header, it's an unbelievable header. He does it so much for them. And they're actually quite a big, I don't know what their record is from set pieces, but that was the only way they were going to sort of find their chances in this game. But like you said, we started really, really well. And then the Ben White injury happens, and I think it's quite interesting with this injury because I don't think he goes fully into the challenge. He kind of goes in it like he doesn't want to. I don't want to blame him for it, but like he doesn't want to get hurt. So he kind of half goes, and I think that causes him to get hurt. Kind of opens up his knee, and when you see it, you immediately think that's him done for the season, because if he has opened up his knee, that's a minimum 4-week probably. And that's the season. And again, this is the issue we've got, and that we've had probably for 2 years straight, is we get cluster injuries all the time. We don't only get a lot of injuries, which we've said on here all season is unprecedented for a team to be now in the Champions League final and in a title race having this many. It is just unheard of. It really is, and nobody wants to talk about it. It's not even mentioned in the media. It doesn't even come up in discussion. But the fact that we get these, even when we don't have a lot of injuries, we get these cluster injuries where it's one after the other in the same spot. But irrespective of that, Neil, the substitution was absolutely crazy. Now, I think we should mention that Declan Rice has played right back for us this season. I'm trying to go back to it, Neil, and I believe it was against Brighton at home when we beat them 2-1. It was just after Christmas, and we actually played really well, and he started the game at right back. But just to sort of put that in perspective, Timber was out, White was out, Mosquera was out in that game, right? So we had none of our 3 right back options. In addition to that, Gabriel was also just coming back from injury, so he was only on the bench. So we played a back 4 of Rice, Saliba, Hincapié and Lewis Skelly, because they were the only 4 fit players we had. So this is a completely, even though Declan Rice in that game against, I don't know if you remember it, it was another game that I think we lost Calafiori in the warm-up. He was unbelievable. I mean, he was absolutely brilliant. And so we know Declan Rice can do a job anywhere. That's what makes him, an unbelievable player, amongst other things. But when you had Mosquera there, but also, not only did you have Mosquera there, I think it's fair to say that Lewis Skelly has kind of grabbed that midfield role from Zubimendi, because Zubimendi's going for a bit of a tough time. He's been overplayed, and he's not quite in the rhythm of the game at the moment. You know, that's why he's not played in the last two. I think it was such a strange decision, Neil, to change your best midfielder into a right back position when you had other options. Mosquera hasn't let him down at right back at all, really. There's an argument before White had this little run that some people were saying maybe you should start. I certainly was one of them. Maybe you should start Mosquera. So it was a weird one, wasn't it, Neil? And it was clear after that he'd got it immediately, that he'd got it wrong, wasn't it?
Well, it basically stifled everything we'd done up to that point. All our attacking prowess had diminished, because Rice is integral, playing there in that position in the midfield, into creating havoc and causing teams difficulties. And as soon as he's pushed to the back position, that was it. Everything slowed down again. Zubimendi comes on, and it's just slow. Everything comes to a pace, halt. And because of that, West Ham start gaining confidence. And they started taking control, and they started taking over the game. If you looked at the statistics, first 15 minutes and then the next 15 or 20 minutes, they're completely different. All our touches in the box diminished. All our attempts on target diminished. And it started becoming possession over to West Ham. So that one change, which I think has baffled pretty much anyone that knows about football. Only Arteta can explain why he did that, because it's completely a mystery. So it's not just the fact that it's unavailability, or he's thinking, oh, I don't have many players in that position, which he did, because he had a light-for-light player in Mosquera, so that just doesn't make any sense. But you're actually taking off our biggest threat, which we desperately need, because we had to win the game. There is no other choice for us anymore. It's not as if we're sitting pretty at the top and we've got points to play with. We had to win the game. So why are you doing that? Why are you doing it to make it more, to slow the game right down? And yeah, you're right. Zubimendi, don't get me wrong, he's a fantastic player. I like it. I like the signing. I'm not going to talk anything bad about him or criticise him, but he, as you said, has just been run ragged. He hasn't got the legs anymore. If I had the choice, I wouldn't even play him anymore for the rest of the season. I know that's harsh on the player, but it's just not he's not with it anymore. He's just gone. So why did you do that? Why did you? And then it ends up we're having to bring on Mosquera later anyway. So you've actually gone and wasted a sub, which could have been really important if we'd suffered another injury somewhere down the line. So he's limiting his substitutions anyway. And then what does that do for Zubimendi mentally? It's like, oh, come on, I know you sub me. It's like, Jack, it didn't make any sense to me. For me, it was farcical. And you think, actually, recently, the last few games, Arteta's got his man manager really spot on. He's done it well. Yeah. He's managed the players really well.
He did fantastic against Madrid, didn't he?
Yeah, brilliantly.
Really well.
And then you do this, and it's like the most bizarre. I can't remember. I don't know if you can, in the last couple of years, of a more bizarre substitution in terms of positional play. What the hell was that? And, you know, Marsley Skelly, for me, he has to play in midfield all the time now. He's superb. Yeah. He was good. I thought he was good again yesterday too.
Yeah, I did as well. And then I actually thought, I said to my brother after it, I said, I even thought he was good when he moved him to left back. I don't remember. I mean, Bowen had a shot in the 3rd minute of the second half, but beyond that, I really felt when we moved him to left back, he was still very, very good. But I didn't want him there, you know. And the thing, my brother tried to sort of argue. He went, well, I think he wanted to maintain the technical control of the midfield, and that's why he put Zabia Lewis Skelly there. And I went, yeah, but it's a combination that's never really played together. But also, in recent games, what we've seen is Rice has become the deeper midfielder. He's become the 6 again, and I think in that sense, it suits. You're not only bringing Zubimendi into the team, you're bringing him into a different role now. I know there's been times where Zubimendi throughout the season has got forward, but it's been from the base of the 6 where he's been given licence at times where Rice has dropped off. It's not been consistently you're in this left 8 role, and there's not really a lot of evidence as yet to show that's a role that could really work for a period, I don't think. So it was very odd, Neil. And I think at half time, because obviously, like you said, they had a chance really soon after where Calafiori goes down. It's never a foul. And they go down our right wing and they cross it, and it's a good save from a header from Raya. And then they also have like a half chance from that resulting corner as well, because like I said, they are dangerous from set pieces. You could just tell Somerville was getting on the ball more. Even Declan Rice didn't look very comfortable at right back, because their biggest danger, I think, is Somerville. And it just felt off, and you were like, you've got to get a grip here because he can't make another sub. But I think at half-time he basically admits his error. But the problem with that is, like you said, you've wasted a sub. And the other part of it, I think at the end of the game, he came out, I think Mike sent the comment saying that Calafiori had picked up a knock. But there was... I don't know about your stream, Neil, but I had Lee Dixon and Graham Lasso on mine with Peter Drury, and they said literally as half-time second half has kicked off, that they'd spoken to the Arsenal bench, and they said it was tactical.
Yeah,
so I think Arteta's trying to save face a bit there, to be honest, and gone, we took him off because he's feeling something, and I'm like, you realise you made an error. You realised you made it there. Because let's be honest, if you're taking Calafiori off, just bring Hincapié on. Wouldn't you? You just bring Hincapié on. It doesn't make sense what you're doing there. So you've done it to correct. But again, then what you've done is you've taken Lewis Skelly out of midfield still. So you've really mucked it up there, really, and it could have cost us. Well, I think a lot. The second half, Neil, like you said, it became much more of an end-to-end game, much more of a stop-start game, much more of a lot of set pieces, and a sort of bitty game, and their crowd was coming very up for it, and it did. It looked like a game where this could go either way here. This really could. We've lost control, I felt, and you have to say, a large proportion of that was on the man. And I have to say, it's not really like Arteta. He does, every now and then he does something, you go, but you don't see a glaring error like that, do you know? I can't remember the last one.
No,
it was really odd,
very bizarre. And it was the most simple thing. It was a like-for-like substitution in the first instance.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. I can't... I don't know, was he trying to overthink things or trying to be too clever? But to what end? It whichever way you look at it, Jack, it doesn't make any sense. Why would you stick Rice back there? I don't know, mate. I don't know. Is that a brain fart? That's all I can explain. It's just a brain fart.
Massively.
Just huge, right? But surely his number one should have said something. They must discuss it together.
Well, it looked like he was discussing it with Heinzer and Stuyvenberg before it happened, because someone, I don't know if it's true, but someone said Mosquera was stripped to come on.
Right, okay.
And maybe he made that sort of last minute change. But like you said, I mean, you go back to it, is it the technical control? But they're quite physical in midfield. They've got Souček, they're very physical. They're not fast, but they're very physical. I just think he played into their hands a little bit. I was like, you can't remove Rice from there unless you absolutely have to, like the Brighton game. You had no choice. Against Brighton, there was not another option. You couldn't, unless you went with Marley Salmon, a 16-year-old kid, there really was not another option. So you accepted it. You're like, we're completely injury ravaged here. You got to do something.
But it wasn't the case, was it?
No, it wasn't the case. So it's really bizarre.
And the other thing is, it's not even as if we've got another midweek game to worry about. We've got another week off now, just over a week off. We don't have to worry about Champions League. We're fully focused and committed on the last two Prem games. So again, it's not even a case of, I'm going to need to rest him because I need him for an important Champions League game in 3 days' time. So even that doesn't even come into the equation. What the hell was he thinking? I think we have to accept it as a. I mean,
the only good part of it, Neil, I look at it two ways, and I think it's lucky. That one is he tried to correct the error. I don't think it helped because it lost us a sub, plus it also affected the ability to have Lewis Skelly in midfield, which is where we really wanted him. The other part of it is, if you look at it in a really bizarre, optimistic way, is if he had that extra sub, he may well have decided to sub off your Trossard. Because even though Trossard was playing so well, he might have looked at it and gone,
Maybe.
Martinelli was there. Martinelli was there. Maybe he went, oh, you know, I've got to get Martinelli's pace on. Maybe we can get him behind him here.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I remember looking at it going, what would his last sub have been? It would either have been Hincapié when we scored, but that would have probably been it. Or would he have made a sub earlier and switched out both wingers because he took Saka off, you know? And I thought, all right, I'm going to look at it in an optimistic view as the game went our way. But honestly, Neil, I was watching it and I think Lee Dixon despises Arsenal because of honestly, he's such a dreadful commentator, and the whole time he's just talking about if, buts and maybe, and he's just looking for a bit like Neville. He looks for that inevitability. You know, you can tell he's seeing what he wants to happen, and he's trying to predict it throughout the whole 90 minutes. And you're just like, how can I just mute one human being here? Which is impossible to do. I think that will come up. Eventually there'll be buttons that will be like, mute this human being. And the first name that should be on your Samsung control. He's an absolute nightmare, the guy. He's just so annoying. But anyway, like you said, Saka was poor. He deserved to come off. He had a few long range efforts that went really wayward in the second half, but he could not get himself in the game. And they had, you know, like they were having chances, and then Neil, I think we got to get to it. I mean, it got to that moment where it felt like time stood still in the 77th minute, where they had a set piece, and I want to say it was a 1-2 from Fernandes with another player, and it felt for a minute like everything stood still, a bit Seaman Sheffield United-ish, but maybe there's another instance that you could talk about. And I don't know how David Raya sticks a leg out. I really don't know how it happens, but I remember I think I fell to the floor when he was through. I just sort of dropped. I was like, how do you not envisage it hitting the net? How he saves that, Neil, I cannot even. But he is in an argument there, and this is maybe to do with individual accolades, but he is definitely in with a shout of our player of the season, isn't he?
It's got to be. He's got his Golden Glove 3 seasons in a row, and this time outright winner, correct? So you don't have to share it with anyone. And he's done what I've said it, and we've all said it, and it's been a known fact for many, many years that a great goalkeeper is a massive part or a component in a title-winning side, because they can pull off. There's those moments where they're going to save you points, and you know they say that a really good keeper can actually save or win, however way you want to look at it, 12 to 15 points in a season, and he's done that. 100%, he's already done that, and to actually collect the Golden Gloves with even 2 games left as well, it's quite special. What annoyed me, Jack, was this is just, and you would have seen it, might put it up, but match of the day, and my God, they were so bad. Apart from, ironically, Danny Murphy,
I heard
Shay Given was an absolute arse. But we'll talk. That was to do with the obviously the crazy stuff that happens at the end. But they put on this stat about Raya, which I think you've seen. In terms of how well his percentage is compared to the other great keepers of the Prem. And he's kind of, I think, up there, is 4th place or something. I can't remember where it is. But they had to put in, for no reason at all, they didn't even refer to it, the number of titles each of these keepers has won. And he's the only one that has a 1-1, of course. So he's got a big fat 0 next to him. Why, BBC, I'd like an answer, was the relevance of that? We're talking about what the man has done this season, and it's been incredible. And it has. I will say it now. I think it's done. He's won the Premiership as a result of his hard work. But you had to put in how many titles he's got, because you know he's got none at the moment compared to all the others who have multiple titles. And I'm absolutely livid with the BBC, and this is just the narrative. Anything they can find or scrape to put a dent in anything good that we do, they will do it. And it incensed me, Jack. I'm like, what is this agenda everyone has with Arsenal? It just doesn't make any sense. So this is what makes me want to win it more. I want to win it for us, for all the fans and the club. But what gives it that extra incentive is to have egg on all these arseholes' faces, Jack. It really makes me sick. But Raya, for me, I would suggest, hasn't he got a shout as being one of the best keepers in the world, as well as being deserving of getting the player of the season? I think he does deserve it. I think another player would be Rice, who's up there. But my God, Raya has been outstanding, mate. He's been consistent. I think he's made, 1 or 2 errors in the season that we can remember?
Yeah.
Apart from that, he's been solid, consistent. Even games we've controlled where we haven't even had teams offer a shot on target. Remember, we had that little spell where we weren't conceding, but we didn't even have shots on target. When he was called upon, he was still alert. And that's difficult for a keeper to do when your team or defence in front of you playing so well that you literally can have a cup of tea between the sticks. But when you're called upon, so that might kind of, I don't know, make you a bit rusty because you're not being called to action. But no, none of that. He's so professional, Jack. And I know that I was very upset when Ramsdale, that move happened, and then Ramsdale was literally outed immediately as soon as Raya was ready. But you know what? I think that is one of the best decisions Arteta has made to get Raya in. And he always wanted him, like you said. He always wanted him, actually. He was after him even before Ramsdale. Yeah. And I think it's one of the best, if not the best decision Arteta has made. Bravo. And Raya, you are wonderful, sir. You are wonderful.
Absolutely fantastic. And there's a point just before that Fernandes chance as well where they get in down our left and Declan Rice makes an unbelievable block for, I don't know which attacker it is coming in, but it's a really good cross from that Diouf, and Declan Rice is just, right space, right time. But again, it's just selfless attitude. We're pushing for a goal and now on the attack, and sometimes you just think, oh, come on, I'm not gonna put in the hard miles.
His pace and strength, I can't believe how he got back to that.
He did unbelievable. But and again, that's Rice. That's where.
Let's
put myself on mute for the sneeze. But yeah, those two players. I mean, there's been others as well. Saliba and Gabriel have been fantastic, but those two players have just been absolutely fantastic and so consistent all season. I think this epitomised it again. Was it Declan Rice's best game? No, but again, you moved him to right back and back. When he was in centre midfield, he was fantastic for me. At right back, he can do a job, sure, but it was the wrong decision. I think that's more on the manager. But yeah, Neil, look, Odegaard comes on. We make a couple of other changes as well. Madueke, I think, looked bright. I actually think Havertz looked bright as well. We didn't get a ton of credit here, but he made a lot of sort of second man runs that were starting to get us up the pitch again before the goal. But Odegaard does so well in this goal, just with his movement and his body movement. I think he plays a wall pass with Havertz, actually. And just that composure, isn't it? It's that composure to stay cool, to have a calm head and pick out a good pass in the heat of the moment when everyone else is getting a bit panicky and a bit chaotic, and Martin Odegaard decides he's going to go on a little run and take a few extra touches in the box and see if he can find a pass and see if he can step for it. And the way he drops to his knees, he deserves to, because I know there's still a lot to do for Trossard there and it deflects and whatnot, but he's the one that opened up the space, and he's the one that his sort of movement, and he's not had a great season. He's been in and out of the team. He's had a lot of injuries. We've been critical of him, but he's so critical to get him fit for moments like that, even if it is from the bench. And Eze didn't have his best game again. I don't think he had his best game in midweek either. If I was going to change one thing, it might have been Eze for Odegaard. It might have been, but he did it, and he didn't do it too late, and we got the goal, and it's pandemonium. It's brilliant.
Do you know what? I think even before what he did for the goal, he'd already started making an impact, Jack. It was the way he was running and kind of leading the way in terms of his energy and trying to get involved in the game, wanting the ball to be passed to him, getting up the pitch. And look, I've been hugely critical of him, but I think that was a flawless performance. The time that he was on the pitch, it was flawless. I think Kai made a difference, as you said. I think they really did change the trajectory of the game, because we were struggling. It was very stop-start. I would have liked the stop-start stuff if we already had the goal in the bag, but we didn't. And we had to get the goal. And it was starting, I think, I might have put on the WhatsApp with the 20 minutes that I said, I'm starting to panic now. I don't know if you remember. And I was quite calm up to that point, but I started to panic, and I'm thinking, where is this goal coming from? So when Trossard comes on, it just changed the dynamic. But the goal itself, I mean, I think that's the difference. He knew that he had to stay calm. He said it in his interview as well, Jack, that he just tried to remain calm, a cool head. And for me, you know what that is? That epitomizes a captain's performance. That's what we need from our captain. And he showed everyone that this is how we do it. It was a beautiful 1-2 with Rice, I think it was. But before his final delivery to Trossard, you can see that he's waiting for the right moment so that he knows exactly when was the right time to give him the chance to not only find Trossard, but to give him the chance, because the defenses are moving in different, are moving away or back, if that makes sense, to give him the space to pass the Trossard for him to have the shot. So he analysed it so well, critically, in those few split seconds for me. And I just think that was so well done. And I think this is what we have in Odegaard that I don't think we have in many other players. As good as Eze has been, he's a different type of player. You're right. I don't think he has been very good in the last 2 games. I thought Saka wasn't at all around for the game yesterday. So I think this is where I don't think we have it in many other players, if any, what Odegaard can do when he's on form. So yes, I've been critical of you, Mr. Odegaard, but yesterday you were brilliant. That was a fantastic move. Great 1-2. And then, still the finish. And this is why I wanted to bring in Trossard early on in my praise, because he has been, for me, the most improved player. And to consider that he hasn't scored in 2026, Jack, that was a good finish. It was still a lot to do. There was still a lot to do. Yes, he gets a bit of deflection, but the shot was always on target from what I could see. I looked at it a couple of times and I thought, no, that was still on target. So even for someone who hasn't scored, and I'll tell you what I loved, that's the first time I've really seen passion and anger in Trossard. You could tell that he so wanted it. He's beating his chest with his fist, and his facial expressions, if you look back, he's almost angry and he's so elated. He really wants to do well for the team. There's been talk about, is he going to be one of the players that goes in the summer? Well, if he does, I'd like him to go with a winner's medal. I was so pleased for him. And the biggest part and component of all of this is the relief. And Odegaard dropping to his knees, I love that too. It shows that he really cares. And that was a nice thing to see. But the relief for all of us, it wasn't over. There was still a good 10 minutes, probably 10 minutes left. I think we scored in the 83rd minute. Yeah. So you knew there was going to be about 5 to 6 minutes of injury time. So still another good 10 minutes left. But at least we got that goal. And the relief is, unbelievable.
Yeah. So after that, I mean, it's brilliant. It's the crowd is fantastic. The celebrations, Trossard going mad, Saliba doing his thing where he jumps into the crowd and just loses all control of his bodily functions like he does after every goal Arsenal got. It's brilliant because Saliba reminds me a little bit of like what I don't really. It's like you can't process what you're doing. Calafiori has a bit of it as well. Whenever he scores, Calafiori does things that he just doesn't. He's like, I don't remember doing it. And it's just that's what goals do to fans and players. It just does silly things to you, doesn't it? And I just my brother's calling me and we're just going mental. I was just almost in tears at that point, like because it's been a tough watch and you felt it slipping and the save and everything, and you couldn't really see at that moment the goal. We did have a 5-10 minute spell before that where you felt the changes had made a difference, but you were worried it might not be enough, and we just get that opening and get a goal. But then after that, we didn't manage it well, Neil. It's not like this goal for them came out of nowhere. I mean, my biggest issue before we get to the VAR decision and everything, which I'm watching now, and this is the first time I've watched it back and watched the players, and a lot of them, to be honest, the Arsenal players are very sort of, other than David Raya, are very kind of sort of think they've blown it kind of thing, I think, in their faces. But anyway, but they're a very strong team from set pieces. If you watch them against Man City, it was a one-sided game fully, but West Ham looked very dangerous as soon as they got a set piece. And my issue was, it wasn't like we were giving away, set pieces you couldn't handle, like throw-ins and things like that. We were giving away silly free kicks, I thought. And it didn't matter where they were. Even if they were 60 yards from their goal, they were just putting both centre-backs up for it and just pinging it. And Mavropanos is so good in the air that if he wins that first ball, anything can happen after that. And I just remember getting in that last 10 minutes, just being like screaming at the TV, being like, stop, like Gyökeres was guilty of it, everyone was guilty, just stop giving away ridiculously silly free kicks. And we couldn't stop doing it. And I think even the corner that they get, which leads to the Callum Wilson goal, I think it might come from a long free kick that we've given away, and a block from Gabriel, I believe. It
was a block from Gabriel, which actually you got to give credit for.
Unbelievable block.
Because that could have gone in. If that had gone in, that was it. They got the goal even before the controversy. So, credit for Gabriel, because that was an unbelievable block. The way you said, how did Raya save that? I thought that was quite similar to what Gabriel did as well. The way he just puts his leg in the way. Yeah. That could have gone. That was going in. Jack, that was going in.
From Wilson, yeah.
So credit.
Sorry to interrupt you, but then the corner comes in, right, after the amazing Gabriel block, like you said. He has a habit of that as well, Gabriel, of just sort of dropping his knee and getting the block in. He's very, very good at making sure he tries to cover as much as he can when he drops. And you could tell, after that, he's going like this. It didn't work, because we didn't handle the corner very well. But the one thing I thought, I have to say, as much as I just fell to the floor and, was basically in tears at that point, started banging the wall, I have to say, when the goal went in, I did think to myself, I've never seen Raya flap like that. But you know what? He's so faultless from crosses, Raya, that almost any other goalkeeper, Donnarumma, dreadful from corners, like any other goalkeeper in the league, you can almost expect that of. But I looked at it and thought, I don't think I've ever seen Raya flap like that from a corner. He doesn't even punch them. He just grabs them from the air. And this didn't look that much different to that. I didn't think anything of it, though. I knew as soon as the shot happened, it was behind the line. I knew it was going to get given as a goal, because, Rice was behind the line. And obviously their fans going absolutely mental, etc. And when you watch the players, they all look sort of, completely heartbroken and like they've, given up 2 points again. But Raya is livid. I mean, he's so livid that that some of the players start to, like Havertz and Arteta, start to sort of buy into what he's saying a little bit. And I didn't really think anything of it until you see the replay from both angles, And I think a lot of people, I'm sure you've read it. I'm injecting all of it. I think it's hilarious because it's ridiculous. But is obviously comparing it with the set piece kings, but the difference is, do we crowd goalkeepers? Absolutely, but what we don't do is we don't put our arms in front of the goalkeeper's neck and pull the goalkeeper down to stop him, one, from jumping, and two, from being able to catch, because you can't lift your arms if you're being strangled, basically. And there isn't an incident. There isn't. Everyone's like, look, every team's been affected by this by Arsenal. There is not an incident where that has occurred. If it has occurred by an Arsenal player, it doesn't get given. Like Ben White grabbing the hand of the Leicester goalkeeper a year or two ago. It didn't get given. And as annoyed as I was when it happened, I was annoyed with Ben White, because I went, why did you do that, Ben? You didn't need to do that. We would have scored anyway. But this one, a lot of people go, well, look at Declan Rice doing this. Look at the goalkeeper literally is about to catch the ball. And he's been stopped by catching the ball by two players who are literally pulling him down or stopping him from raising his arms. And neither of those players are making any attempt themselves to get the ball. And I actually think this is probably the most positive impact VAR has had since it's been implemented. And I actually think that is the talking point. Obviously, we're looking at it from a Arsenal perspective, but even objectively, I think a couple of people have said, like Gary Neville, I don't know what he was like during it, but when he did his post-match stuff and he calmed down, he basically said this was a huge call by VAR, and actually whoever was on VAR, I think it was Darren England, deserves a huge amount of credit for being calm and making the right decision, because it is could be a hugely impactful decision for both teams, but that shouldn't affect your ability to make the correct decision. And it is, I think it's without doubt a correct decision, isn't it, Neil?
100%, exactly what you said. If you, this is the thing that annoyed me about Shay Given on Match of the Day. He started going on about, but Arsenal do it all the time. But what Kelly Cates was trying to say is, yeah, but it was the correct decision. And they had someone in, I don't know whether he was from VAR or he's a ref or a combination of both. He was brilliant. I don't know what his name was, but he was brilliant. He basically said, look, at the end of the day, the decision is the correct one. Yes, it's a huge call, and it means one team, it affects them in terms of relegation. The other team, it affects them whether they're going to win the title or not, or potentially will do. And he said, being that big of a decision, he goes, I'm so pleased that, number one, it took time, because he was questioning that. Shay Given was going, and Bowen, or whatever his name is, he was going on about, if you look at something for ages, you're going to find faults and then be able to, no, they took time, because they knew how big of an impact this could be. Most likely, and I think it is the biggest decision VAR has ever made, certainly in the Premiership. So they had to get it right, because it impacts not one team, but two teams in both directions. One to win the title, one for potential relegation. And he said it was the correct decision, because not only he's not only got his arm over his neck, he's actually holding his left arm. Because I've looked at it, I blew up the picture.
Yeah, there's like three parts to it, yeah.
You can see his fingers are around his arm. So basically, you're impeding and stopping Raya from lifting your arm up to catch the ball. You're exactly right. He does almost get it. Even though he's impeded, he almost actually collects the ball. But he can't, because also some other, what's his name? The guy, his name begins with T? I don't know, whichever player it was, number 25, I think he is. He's actually pulling his shirt as well. So not only is Raya's shirt being pulled in one direction, the other guy's got his arm around him. Same guy that actually we could have had a penalty shout. He was the one that was on the floor doing his breaststroke on the floor, and his arm touched the ball. And yeah, I admit that was the right decision. It wasn't a penalty for me. I know James was saying it is, but maybe it was just he wanted us to get a penalty shout because he was so desperate to win the game. But two players impeding him, and the guy that was there basically shutting Shay Given up, saying that was the correct decision. It doesn't matter how long it took. Now then Shay Given counters it and says, not only about how Arsenal seem to have done it in the past. No, Jack, you're absolutely right. This is what I was going to say.
We've never done that.
We have not.
We're not stupid enough to do that.
We block keepers. Saliba does it brilliantly, but that's within the rules. But he's not touching the keeper. The keeper, then I've heard other pundits, which are great that they're saying it, well, the keepers should be stronger then. Even Roy Keane was saying, Saliba might be blocking him. Well, he should be he owns that area. So he should be stronger as a keeper. So our players blocking is nothing to do with it. It's irrelevant, Shay Given, irrelevant. Then he comes out with, but then there's so many other fouls happening. So what makes you think that, well, we got to focus on this one? Because that's the main one. Yeah. That's the main foul. That's where the ball is.
There's always other fouls happening in the box.
Of course.
It's like you can never, but this has affected the moment. That's
all the time. How many times have you seen our players be literally manhandled and rugby tackled to the floor so many times? What about those, Shay Given? Right? You keep talking about, look, they've got the highest number of set pieces. Well, it's because they do this. No, Shay Given, it's because we're damn good at them. Nothing to do with breaking the rules. And if you look at this particular one, if you look at Trossard and his manhandling, Shay Given was going on about Trossard. Rice, I know, has got Mavropanos. But if you look at Trossard, I don't know what player it is, the other players, actually it starts that ball rolling, pulling Trossard away. Then Trossard counters him. So Shay Given and all these other idiots... And Gary Neville kind of admitted it. I think at first he was like, goal. And then he was, he wants us to lose so badly.
Of course he does, of course.
But then I think even he had to say, no, it's not going to be given. It's a foul. It's a foul on the keeper. He goes, I'll be surprised if this is given. So I think even during match play, he was admitting the right decision, essentially. But, all these people, this is why I want to win it so bad, to shut all these arseholes up, Jack. But that was the best VAR decision and the correct one. That's the important factor. The correct one. Yeah. To be given, in my opinion.
And I think, the idiocy in trying to say, but let's look at everything Arsenal have ever done in a set piece. Is so beyond parody, because when we, for example, look at the Declan Rice incident where he toe-nailed a ball away, and every time someone kicks a ball away, we say that's actually more relevant because it's not even comparable. What we're comparing it to is actual kicking the ball away, whereas Declan Rice didn't do any of that and got red card. When we compare Martinelli double yellow card, we're comparing it to things that are just actually way worse. So this isn't even comparable. It's the opposite of anything. And so you're just saying, have there been fouls by us and other teams? Of course there has in the past. I mean, why hasn't there been? I mean, I still think we've been on since VAR's been implemented, I think we've been on the worst end of the worst VAR decisions. If you think about Brentford at home, 5 points clear in a title race when they said they just forgot to call the lines of a Brentford
Unbelievable.
2 yards offside.
Unbelievable.
No one ever mentioned it again. Newcastle, 3 fouls, ball out, and they somehow justified that. And basically, the agenda on Arteta started from that because of how he reacted. We all know it did. And so, we've had such bad decisions again. I mean, just unbelievably bad. But I have to say, despite all of this, and despite seeing it and believing it, and even hearing the commentary being like, the so biased commentary being like, actually this does look like a foul to me, I was convinced they were giving it as a goal. I was absolutely convinced. I was like, I literally remember screaming, just give it, you're never going to overturn it. I said, just give it. It just felt Newcastle-like to me. When the Newcastle one happened and you felt it was so obviously not a goal that they're going to give it as a goal. Do you know what I mean? I remember seeing in the Newcastle one thinking, I don't even know where to start with this not being that they're going to not look into it and just give it because it's easier. And this one, and that's what I felt with this. I thought the West Ham crowd were going mental, and I did think it was a bit weird because obviously they scored last minute, but I was like, a point. It hurts us massively, but for you, I'm not sure it does a lot for you. You're still in the bottom 3, and they've got easier games than you. So I was looking at it going, I don't know why you're going as mental as you are. Is it? But fair enough. But I did think, they're never overturning it. But then when I saw I don't know if you saw it on your end, I saw a video clip of Darren England. You're not allowed to hear it, but the commentary hears it, but you don't get to hear it, of speaking. And when I saw him speaking, I started to calm down a bit. I thought, he looks like he thinks there's something wrong here. They were in discussion, and apparently, I think we'll get you do get the audio release for these things a few weeks later. But Gary Neville, in his post-match podcast, which I never listened to, but I thought I'd click it on just before I spoke to you, he was like, they spoke really well. In the way they were speaking, he said it was really impressive, and he basically said he should go home really proud about the way he was able to be calm in a situation like that and explain it to the referee as to why this needs to be ruled out. And I agree with that. And all the melee and all the fans, the hate watches of people just having to celebrate so hard and then realise that it got overturned. The Man City fans, Pep Guardiola yesterday saying, come on you Irons. And I thought about it, and I thought, if that was our manager doing that, he would be absolutely vilified for saying something like that he'd be called out as being desperate and unclassy and all this, but because it's him, it doesn't get called out at all. It gets called out as mind games and all and I just thought, and to see all of that, just imagine him and the City players sitting and watching that and going through that. It gave me so much joy in the end to think about it that way. I was like,
and Tottenham fans, unbelievably,
exactly.
They would rather go down. I was speaking to my cousin, he's a Tottenham fan. And he's celebrating when the goal goes in, and I'm like, "What kind of a fan are you, mate?" I said, "You would rather go down than see us win the title." He goes, "Yeah, of course." I said, "You ain't a fan, then, are you? You call yourself a fan? You're not a fan, mate."
Yeah.
Would you? What would you? I mean, I'm sorry, Jack. As much as I despise them, there is no way on hell I would rather be relegated
Yeah.
And I mean, it would hurt seeing them win the title. Of course it would.
Yeah.
But I would rather stay up there and try and stop them from doing it the next season.
Yeah.
But these idiots are like happy. No, it's all right. We'll get relegated as long as they don't win the title. Oh my God, it's nonsensical, mate.
No, exactly. Just a quick thing, and this is why I never really invested in the Tottenham going down thing. One, because I didn't really believe it. The other was, I don't forget what West Ham fans are either. I remember West Ham celebrating with Man City fans. I think getting beat by Man City at their home ground because they knew that Arsenal weren't going to win the title. I sleep very well at night now, and West Ham went down. No problem, because
they were singing together in the stadium. Do you remember?
Absolutely.
They were both because they'd won the European. That was the year they won it, wasn't it, in Europe or something?
Yeah.
And then they were, or the year before, or whatever it was, and they were in unison singing in the stadium.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you think, hang on a minute, you're also a London club. I know we've got rivalries, but seriously, it's just a joke. Everyone hates us. Everyone.
But we are absolutely hating. I think there's a few. We know. You've been a fan longer than me, but we know we've always been hated.
Yeah.
And but I think from my perspective, it got worse. One, when Wenger came in, because he's the first successful foreign manager, and I think with Arteta being almost a disciple of Wenger, played for him, young foreign manager too, a lot of similar. In terms of strong mentality and believing in what the club is, you felt that continuation. As soon as Arteta come in, you were like, that continuation going. But I also think it's the fact that we haven't won for a long time. And I think when a big team hasn't won for such a long time, a lot of people like to keep it that way. And when it gets close to not being that way, it becomes the unthinkable for a lot of fans.
They can't handle it. They can't handle it, Jack.
They cannot. And also, because we're a well-run club and a properly run club, those other properly run, those other properly run clubs out there have to look internally. If we do it, they have to go, well, why? There's no excuse for us not to be doing it, And that all of that, I think the big part of it is the foreign feel and the Wenger thing and leading into Arteta. But I think all of that culminates in what we're seeing.
It does. And also the big thing that Wenger said about the English referees, remember? They're not fit to be at the World Cup. And I think that his card was marked. Yeah, completely.
And I think Arteta's was since the Newcastle outbreak, and now he won in court, didn't he, with what he said, and after the game, said it was a disgrace and everything, an embarrassment, and then since that, it's all sort of filtered from the media to you got him. Who is this young coach who's never managed before? Saying,
there's that too, because he's never managed before.
Yeah, so there's almost like, who are you? You've got no experience. Don't start it. But Neil, I mean, that last from the 77th minute to the 96th, that last 20 minutes. Honestly, I don't know how any Arsenal fan sort of managed it. I don't think I managed it particularly well, but I also don't really remember a time period like that where you felt so many emotions in it. From joy to absolute despair to back to joy. It was quite incredible. But then when the whistle goes. And you watch the players, and Odegaard.
Some drops. They've dropped.
Yeah, dropped. Odegaard just running and pumping his fist at a crowd, and everyone's out there, and it's just absolutely fantastic. And I had under no illusions. Obviously, I think the last two games there we've won 6-1 and 5-2. I never thought it was going to be a game like that. I'd hoped it was going to be a game we won comfortably. I never ever thought it was going to be, because they're just. They're absolutely fighting for their lives. They're going to fight for every ball, and it's absolutely massive for them. And it was a terrible time to play them. It really was. It was a terrible time to play a relegation team. It really is. The last three games away at their ground, 4:30 Sunday. After a Champions League final, a semi-final, we made it, and you always got that.
And we had the added pressure that City had played before and won.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You see? So that was another factor. Yeah. So I think actually, when you look back on it, it's a fantastic result.
Yeah.
Forget about what happened. It's a fantastic 3 points away from home. That's the way you got to look at it against the teams you see is fighting for their lives. Also knowing that we had to win because City again put the pressure back on us.
Yeah.
But I think it's a fantastic performance in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely. It could have gone either way, but again, it's just everything's about results at the moment. It's just everything is about it, and we know we've not. Well, I think we have played quite well in the last few. This game, I thought we started well, and then I think
it's
the changes and the injury didn't do us so many favours.
No.
I mean, just looking ahead a little bit, Neil, before we do the predictions for the Burnley game, obviously made the Champions League final. Absolutely fantastic to make it that atmosphere. You were there.
Oh, God,
atmosphere was, you said, was one of the best, if not the best you've ever been to.
I think so. I've been lucky to be at the Real Madrid game. I was lucky enough to be at the Barcelona game, and a few of the crazy pivotal domestic games as well. But I think in terms of even before match, the atmosphere, I've never, ever heard or seen anything like it. So much so that my left ear was ringing after the game. It was that loud. Honestly, Jack, it was. I'm not exaggerating to dramatise it. It actually was ringing. I was like, I'm deaf in my left ear. I can't believe it. It was that loud. I think this is one thing where, if nothing else, Arteta does deserve some praise, because he has unified the fan base and he has allowed us to create that atmosphere as well, because he's the one that gave the green light for the Ashburton Army to do their thing, the drums in the stadium, all of it is part of it. But Jack, the stadium was literally rocking. I thought it was going to collapse, and it was spellbindingly loud in there, and everything going on. You had the fireworks at the start, and it just led up to an amazing event. The football may not have been as pretty as you'd like, but it didn't matter, because the atmosphere. If you wanted an example of what a 12th man is, that's the game you look at. Any footballing team, actually, that's the game you look at. Incredible stuff. And you know what? It's a cup final, and I know PSG are a tough team, but it's a cup final, Jack. Anything can happen. When people say to me, "Oh, but the clear favourites," and I say, all you need to think about is a game back, an FA Cup final back in 1988, when Wimbledon FC faced the mighty Liverpool, and look who won. That's all I always say. I said it's a cup final, anything can happen.
Do you ever think back to the Cup Winners' Cup in 94, 95?
Yeah, exactly.
It was a bit like that, wasn't it? In the sense that Parma were massive favourites, I think.
Oh, yes.
And they had some amazing players, that they Brolin and stuff like that. It was very
Brolin was amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember when I was there at that time, when I was at that age, I was thinking, God, if only we could get a player like him in our team. I remember that, because this is all pre-Bergkamp, remember? So when we got Bergkamp, I was like, how have we signed Bergkamp? For me, that was one of the most incredible, in my history in life as a fan. I think the signing of Bergkamp was one of the most incredible moments for me, because I just could not believe it. Seeing that teletext, Arsenal signed Bergkamp for 7.5 million, I will never be able to forget that. That's always going to be imprinted in my head. And it was just the most amazing moment. So, yeah, that was a tough team. They were clear favourites, Jack, and we did it. Yeah. So, look, anything can happen, mate.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to play again until that game, because they don't play in their league. So, yeah, I had a look, actually. I thought, did they play this weekend? And they did, but they were unrecognisable, put it that way. There was, I think there was one player that started that played in their Champions League game, and I'm like, that league's just a joke. They're going for it. They're not even won their title yet. They're just sort of, playing out there, and they're just like, doesn't matter, just rotate 10 players, because the league's a joke. And that's what they get, so they'll have, and the problem we've got is we never get very lucky with injuries. Again, we lost Ben White. We're now really injury ravaged at right back. I thought Mosquera did a fine job when he came on. He had one little issue with Somerville where he turned him and he got booked. Yeah. But Somerville's a difficult player. But obviously, we're gonna need to find something in him over the next, because it doesn't sound very optimistic on Timber.
No.
I'd be surprised if we see him again this season now, given how long it's been.
And did you say 2 podcasts ago, was it? That doesn't even get talked about. Everyone's talk. We have still been injury ravaged as per normal this season. It just hasn't affected us as much, because we've been lucky to have so much depth that we can play with, or use. We've been more flexible with it. But we've been ravaged with key injuries again, Jack.
Massive amount.
Isn't it?
for so many games, and it's just
unbelievable.
Maybe we lost Calafiori. I don't think we did lose Calafiori.
I think
he
that's
said that to save. But I bet you, I'm very optimistic about injuries, but I bet you he's in the squad for the next one. I bet you he is. So let's hope anyway.
And look, you talk about PSG, but actually, look at us now. We're lucky that we don't have any midweek games. We've got a week between each games. And I'll be honest, look, for me, it's done. The reason being, Burnley, they're relegated. They've got nothing to play for. Crystal Palace, in terms of the Prem, have got nothing to play for. And they've got their own first ever European final as well, a few days after our game. I will not be surprised if a lot of their players are rested for that game.
Yeah,
because you won't want to risk it. What's the point? Why would you want to risk a Prem game when you've got a European final, the first ever in your club's history, because you want to get one over on Arsenal? No, it won't happen. So I think for me, I know I'm going ahead of myself and getting ahead of myself, but I think the next two games are simply academic. They're simply academic. So like PSG, you're saying, but I think we're in a very similar boat too. I'm not saying we can rest on our laurels. We've got to go ahead and win the games, no doubt about it. But because I can't see, I'm trying to think, is there a way that we can wrap it up in Burnley? I can't see Palace getting anything at City midweek, right? So we will have to beat Burnley. There's no question of that. But I don't foresee. I can't, even with our problems at right back, Jack. I can't see any problems.
Well, you're optimistic, mate. I am. You know me. I'm very cautious as we go through. But let's do predictions, shall we? It's Arsenal Burnley. Obviously, last home game of the season at Monday night, 8 p.m. You going?
I would like to go, but I haven't got a ticket yet. I might look at the exchange, but I'm not sure yet.
I know they're going for a fortune at the moment. I've been.
Oh, are they?
That's what my brother said to me. I don't know if that's true, but I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're going for crazy prices now. But
the thing is, I think I've been told that because it's so late, we're not going to do this. Even if we do wrap it up on Monday, which is unlikely because Palace City. But if some miracle they do manage to get something against City, and we can wrap it up on Monday, they're not going to be able to do the celebrations because it's too late. Because you won't be able to do the fireworks stuff.
Yeah, so, the game got moved, didn't it? Yeah.
So I think the trophy and everything's going to be at Sellers Park anyway.
Yeah. Oh.
So, but I'd still like to be there, of course. But I don't know. I'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your prediction? Arsenal, Burnley. I pray on the optimistic side somehow we see Timber, but I just don't see it. But go ahead.
I think we're going to win, Jack. I can't believe we will not win that game. I think it's going to be. I think it will be a bit, not a cricket score. I'll give that respect to Burnley. I'm going for 4-0.
4-0.
I'll go 4-0. I think so. I think we'll do well there. And I'm going to say Gyökeres 4-0.
4-0 Gyökeres. Okay, I'll go 2-0 Arsenal and Odegaard. I'll go 2-0 Arsenal, Odegaard.
Okay.
But again, take either at this point. Just to be honest,
just need a win. We only need a 1-0. We just need 1-0. It doesn't matter.
I don't know if I can handle a 1-0 like that.
But
yes,
for the
you're
blood
right.
Pressure, for the heart conditions, no. But I'm saying that's all we need.
Yeah. Neil, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Jack.
Purely, it's been really good chatting about it, and I haven't had a chance to really sit and watch everything on it. I'm sure you haven't either, but it is one of those where you just want to kind of take all that last 15 in again.
It's pivotal. It's hugely pivotal, that moment.
Yeah, I really hope so, mate. I mean, we're at Purely Arsenal FP on Twitter. Thank you for tuning in to us on YouTube. If you do, just type in Purely Arsenal there, ad-free, and hopefully, back after the Arsenal-Burnley game. 2 more in the league to go. Let's get the results we hope for. Thank you, Neil. Up the Arsenal.